Save some green this March by visiting the new Lloydminster Nissan in the Big Blue building on Highway 16 West. Purchase a new car, truck, or SUV from the new Lloydminster Nissan this March and get lucky. Right now at the new Lloydminster Nissan, your first payment is on us, and you can win free payments for a year with your new or pre-owned purchase. May the luck of the Irish be with you all March and all year. The new Lloydminster Nissan. We won't sell you a car, we'll help you buy one.
At Lloydminster and District Co-op, membership matters more. Because being part of a co-op means you're connected to something bigger than yourself. From long-held legacy by those who built our communities, to people you call family, friends, and neighbors. When you're a Lloyd Co-op member, you're an owner in a local business that prides itself on purpose alongside profit. You earn cash back, you help support causes that matter most, and you're building a better way of life for the next generation. Membership matters more.
Local people. Local news and events. Local sports. Local matters. For all things Lloydminster and area, this is Live with Kurt Price.
Hey, welcome to Lloydminster Exhibition and the new Lloydminster Nissan Exhibition Grill. My name is Kurt Price. Tracy Kay is here to co-host Patchwork today, and we want to remind you that at the new Lloydminster Nissan, right now we are blowing out 2023 Rogues and 2023 Cash Guys. So if you're looking for a vehicle, this is the deal that you have been waiting for, whether you're looking for something that's better on gas mileage or you're looking for something that is really going to be stylish and get you around. Take a look at a 2023 Rogue and very popular 2023 Cash Guy as well. Those have got to go at the new Lloydminster Nissan, and you will find the new Lloydminster Nissan in the Big Blue building on Highway 16 West. Temporary location, going to be there for likely another month before we move into our brand new location here in Lloydminster. Our special guest today, and when I say special guest, I mean it, a man who is being honored on Friday night with the distinction of the Oilman of the Year, is Monte Armstrong. Monte, thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here, Monte.
Yeah,
hey, by the way, just throwing it off topic for 2 seconds, blowing out the cars, what does that mean? Like, you get somebody there with a snowblower and they blow them out of the lot? Or
no, we don't have to because we're all inside. Yeah. We got all the vehicles inside right now, but just got to get rid of the 2023s.
Yeah, I know.
We're like, this is March now.
Yeah,
so
new highway building on Highway 17. It looks good.
It's looking good. Probably being there in about a month. So.
Well, yeah. Well, just throwing it. Kind of funny this morning.
Yeah, and got a lot of 2024s too, but those 2023s at cost. So yeah, hopefully come see us. So Tracy, what's the oil field doing?
Well, I can tell you some prices. I can tell you that part.
Yeah.
And then one of the things is Monte said he's been down in Palm Springs. I guess he's got some consulting work down there. They're drilling a lot of wells down in Palm Springs. I'm thinking water wells, maybe not any oil wells, Monte. Just kidding.
Well, they've had lots of water down there.
Have they?
For the, normally what they get, but they've had lots of rain.
You got a little bit of tan on you, Monte. You must be getting out in the sun good.
I chased the golf ball around a little bit.
So now he's got to come back here and throw some stuff out on the ice, because in Palm Springs, ice is an imaginary thing unless it's in the freezer somewhere.
Or in your glass, right?
In your glass, yeah.
You know, there's a saying out there that said that, the Bible says that there was miracles on there, people walking on the water. But I tell the U.S. guys all the time, we do it 6 months a year here. We drill. Right. We're even so miraculous here. We drill holes through the ice as we're walking on it and catch fish.
There we go.
There you go. So,
what is the oil price doing?
It's not bad, actually. We're at $62.36 U.S. I use the oilprice.com. BOE might be a little more accurate for producers, but I just find it just easy to go to, and it's right there. But we're about $62.36 US. It's down a couple barrels from yesterday, but that works out to, in the 90s Canadian. But I've been told to just keep everything US as we talk on here, so you can do the math, times it by probably 1.3 somewhere in there, right? So
right.
Western Canadian Select is at $62.36, but the WTI is really strong right now. It's $79.42 US. What we try to do, and when people get a little bit upset of Canadian producers, is they want to see the WTI and the Western Canadian Select this close to each other, because then our prices are good. The farther out we get, the differential gets. It doesn't look like we're getting as good for our dollar, right? Rig counts, though, are still really good. 622 rigs going in the U.S., down 7 from a couple of weeks ago, but actually down over 100 from last year. So we're going to decide what they're going to do down there, and of course that's probably most of the play down in Texas and Midland. 225 in Canada, which is down 6, but actually up a couple from last year. So that's good news. We're still, staying on the status quo. And then internationally, we've got almost 1,000 rigs, 958, down 7 from a couple weeks ago. Those numbers are strong. I think that, you just keep watching the news, and stuff is just going to continue to stay strong, in my opinion. I'm being tremendously optimistic with the prices. So.
What about breakup, Tracy? Is it here? Has it arrived early?
Well, as you know, we are now producing oil with Integrity Oil and Gas. I just talked to my guys yesterday, and depending on where the roads and what the roads are and what your leases are on, we call them half loads, and you have to go and, saying this over the internet, you have to go and maybe take cookies to some of the RMs of Wilton and Britannia and Eldon, and Monte knows that with some of the work he had to do through the years. But you have to make sure that the roads are good, because we can't just have all this oil field traffic and then the roads are wrecked for the normal person. We have what are called road bans or road banding weights that we have to cater to.
Are those in effect yet?
We're not seeing it yet, because we're still quite crispy in the morning.
Right.
But eventually, if it stays like this in the next couple of weeks, what's going to happen is then the big loads that you used to be able to take out of some of those oil wells, you might have to go back there more times to get it, because the loads are lighter, and so that you still cover yourself on the road band situation. But this is always a little bit of a tighter time. I tell people we're really in the oil patch 11 months a year, because the 1 month you have to decide if you can still get around. Now, some oil companies have massive infrastructure on their roads. They're paved or very good packed in that, and they can get out to the main highways. They don't even miss a beat. But most of your infield stuff around here is definitely challenging, Kurt. Yeah, for sure.
Is what he's saying take you back, Monte?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Road restrictions always played into, the workload this time of year, and like you say, you work with the RM, you make sure you respect the road bans they do have on, and normally things, you kind of plan for it this time of year, and that's the way things went. So,
So when you were working, this was Palm Springs time then?
well, it was what?
Palm Springs time?
Probably.
Yeah. Now that you're retired, it comes a little earlier.
It comes a little quicker, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and talk about Monte's career. But first, I want to tell you about BioClean Disaster Services. BioClean Disaster Services is local. That's a restoration and cleaning company that is absolutely second to none. Wind, fire, flood, that can be so disastrous on your property, of course, on your belongings, but it also takes a toll on your family. And that's why at BioClean Disaster Services, their commitment is to you and to your family. All products are safe for your family, but it's also about keeping you up to date on what's happening with your restoration project, particularly if your family is out of your home or if you've been out of your business for a while. But getting back to that family dynamic is where you want to be, and that's where BioClean Disaster Services wants you to be as well. Committed, certified, reliable, and very local, serving Lloydminster, Wainwright, St. Paul, Bonnyville, and Cold Lake. BioClean Disaster Services, 1-833-246-8326. We'll be right back with the Oilman of the Year, Monte Armstrong.
I'm Brian Zinchuk of PipelineOnline.ca. I used to be a pipeliner, and I've spent the last 15 years reporting on energy in Saskatchewan. PipelineOnline.ca provides comprehensive coverage of light oil, heavy oil, lithium, helium, power production including coal, wind, solar, geothermal, natural gas, and nuclear. There's a lot happening in Saskatchewan's energy sector, and Pipeline Online is there for all of it. No one else comes even close.
It's more than just taxes at L&A CPA. Assurance, accounting, retirement planning, estate planning, business consulting, financial consulting, farm program support, and bookkeeping. But yes, there is always taxes. The team at L&A CPA is committed to helping you achieve your best results and will be there to assist you every step of the way. L&A CPA, with offices in Provost, Vermilion, and Lloydminster.
At Jason Arden Associates Cooperators, we're proud to be a top-rated local insurance company that offers flexible solutions and expert advice for all your insurance and investment needs. We'll work with you to tailor your insurance specific to your needs, and we offer investment advice that always puts you first. At Cooperators, one of our core values is to give back to the communities that we live in. Thanks to the support of our clients in Lloydminster and area, in 2023, Jason Arden Associates has donated $40,000 to local nonprofits, charities, students, athletes, and other special events. How does your insurance company support our community?
Welcome back to Patchwork. One of our supporters is Superior Water. Superior Water is proud to provide you with the purest drinking water possible, and I drink it because I like the taste. I believe it is superior to anyone else's water. I think it's the best water in Lloydminster, and it's just $3 a jug. You get a nice, consistent taste, and don't forget the ice for that Crown Royal is just $2 a bag. 2 locations in Lloydminster, right beside Sheepskin Loft on 57th Avenue, and also their coin-operated location by 7-Eleven, just off Highway 17 South. It's Superior Water. Water treatment is what they do, and they do it well. Well, once again, pleased to welcome our guest, Monte Armstrong, who's the Oilman of the Year, and we're going to get to that in just a bit. But first, we want to take a look back on Monte's career in oil and gas. You don't get to be the Oilman of the Year by working, 6 months in the business. Here's a guy that worked, 34 years, Monte?
Yeah, pretty well for 34 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and truthfully, probably still doing as much volunteering as you have ever done in your life, too.
Well, maybe a little less on that end. We do some, a fair bit of traveling now, and so we're not around quite as much, but still a few things that we are involved in, and it's good to still keep in touch with the community that way.
So you didn't grow up here, Monte. You grew up on a farm.
I did, yeah. I grew up on a farm in southern Saskatchewan, east of Estevan, and we had a mixed farm that we grew up on. I'm from a large family, so a lot of us migrated to the oil industry in different areas, and but the family farm is still there, and I have an older brother that continues to farm it. So.
When did you get here, Monte? When did you come to Lloyd then?
I moved in the fall of '76 up here.
76, okay. Yeah. So you've been here since, and that's when you said you started. Started in the oil industry here. What were you doing?
That's more than 34 years, Monte.
Well, if you go 24 and 24, that's 48, right?
But I basically retired in 2010.
Oh, right, right.
So he does some consulting from Palm Springs now, via the Zoom meetings, and
yeah. So was it you didn't want to stay on the farm, or just there's you had a large family?
I really enjoyed farming. But my thoughts were I'll go and make some money, and I was really interested in becoming a vet. But, I got up to Lloydminster here, had a couple of brothers living here at the time, and started working in the industry and really enjoyed it, enjoyed the people I worked with, and it just kind of stayed there with me, and I met somebody up here and married her, and so, there was no reason to leave.
Now there's no reason to go. And then I was here, and Monte met me, and he said, I got to stay here for a while. No, I'm just kidding. But you, in 76, so I know your career, and we're going to get into that. You were in the maintenance side of things, getting the wells and getting some of the facilities set up. What did you start off when you got here then? You went from a farm boy, which most of the guys that I have in my company at Titus were farm guys. And they are good hands because they know how to MacGyver just about anything to get the job done, and they're hard-working guys. What did you start with then, Monte?
Well, the same thing, running wrenches and shovels. And
for what company?
Weldex machine.
Weldex.
Yeah. You kind of grew up with a pair of pliers in your back pocket, so like you said, there's a lot of things that you had to, kind of do on the go as you went. And
Weldex machine. Who was the owner at that time?
There was Al and Jack Jardine, and then Ron Denny was also in.
Ron Denny. Was Dick Volkins in there at any time?
He was in the parts
department.
That's what
I thought, yes. Weldex machine.
Yeah.
So
that goes way back.
But those are some names that are familiar to us.
Right, but they're, I have I got a couple old sticker books. I don't know if you have any of yours. But
I still do.
So here's was the deal back in the day. You went out to any location and you didn't have a sticker, you could have 12 dozen Tim Hortons donuts. You didn't have a sticker, they almost want to run you off. And the thing was, he who has the most stickers on their hard hat wins. But what guys started doing was started scrapbooking them. And if you've got some, I've got some. And Weldex, which no longer is around. I mean, there's Snoopy's, all these guys that we'll get to in discussion. Stickers was huge back then.
Yeah, and now that you mention that, of course, I've never worked in the oil field, but now that you mention it, I do remember seeing that, and I still see that quite a bit.
Well, you won't
But not
see it as
many
much.
stickers.
You won't see it as much now because, unfortunately, you start putting stickers on your hard hats, and they consider that degrading the hard hat. But back then, I mean, you pretty well could wear a lumberjack on the location. We didn't have safety coveralls and stuff back then, Monte. So
That's right. And, I mean, you'd pick out a hard hat from a mile away if it didn't have stickers on it because,
you knew
shiny,
that was the
everything.
green guy.
That
You
was
did.
somebody that just started or, stickers was a very big thing back then.
Yeah.
So how long were you with Weldex?
Well, it was about 2 years after we were there that Weldex bought G&W Oilfield Hauling, which is a trucking company.
Another sticker.
Yeah, and they took and moved our construction part of the Weldex, which was the ones that worked in the field, over and joined the G&W Trucking. And shortly after, they formed a new company called Midway Oilfield Services, and so we were with the field construction part of the company. And so there was a parent company that kind of looked after all of them at that time, and they did buy a number of other companies. They bought Scandia Trucking in southern Alberta at that time, and so they had grown, quite a bit up till 1982. So,
What were you doing for them at that time?
well, originally I was running a crew, and then I became a supervisor for them, probably about 1980, I guess. So.
Started moving up the ladder.
Yeah, slowly moving up the ladder, and our job was to go out and meet with the customers and generate the work, and then organize it and make sure people were getting it done properly. And so, yeah, it was a busy time.
So Monte was on the surface side of things for our listening audience. My whole career has been on the downhole, getting everything ready on the well, below ground, and then Monte's crews and that several times would come and say, okay, we need to get everything set up, the flow lines and the tankage and everything in that way, get the shack out there, whatever needs to be done on that side of things. So you stayed there, and then where did you go from there then, Monte?
Well, when things turned down in 1982, then
Which is the cycles?
interest rates were
15%
or higher.
20% some days.
Yeah, and there was a downturn, and so then we formed Clancy's Oilfield Services. We bought some of the equipment that had been part of the other company and started Clancy's Oilfield, and so we operated that for 5 years.
Were you a partner in that company?
I was, yeah.
Yes. And who else was Clancy, of course,
Yeah,
which
Blair Denny.
Blair Denny,
and
yeah.
Randy Kurtzinger.
Randy Kurtzen, okay.
Yeah.
Did you leave? Did you leave on your own and say I'm going to go off here, or was the downturn such that?
No, the downturn was, when we started Clancy's, the whole parent company went into receivership. We were busy. I mean, we had 50 employees working, but with all the different divisions of it, too much, I guess,
too
pressure
big.
on the, And so then we bought some of the equipment, started Clancy's Oilfield, and then we operated that till 87, and the same thing, there was just a downturn, and, we'd gone through a year where there wasn't a lot of work, so then we decided that, we would sell Clancy's, so then Blair and I bought part of the equipment, and we started Granite Oilfield.
So where did the Granite name come from, Monte?
Actually,
You guys are just tough as
I
granite?
was out in the curling ice when I come up with the name, but
Really?
Well, that's what.
That's
I
what you're
used
throwing
to
on
do,
the
but
ice,
that's
or
what I
what?
was throwing on the ice, and
Because I never asked you that, and all the time I've known you, I went Granite. Like,
Yeah.
to me, that's like,
Makes
it's
a lot
a
of
strong,
sense
it's a
now.
well,
strong name.
it's a strong name, and I just thought it was something that fit pretty good, and
Well, you guys were known around the town for many, many years. And people knew who Granite was. for
yeah,
sure.
and they still operate, and I think they're still going pretty strong,
Mm-hmm.
and
So you just said, these rocks are made of granite. We're tough guys, and we'll just go that way. Is that how it started, or?
well, we kind of talked about. Every time you change businesses, you always are going to downsize to start over, and there's a certain way you want to run your business, and Blair and I both had the same vision that we didn't have to buy all the equipment in the world to to operate. We could work with the other contractors in the area and make use of their skills and equipment and still provide the customers with the same sort of service without us having to step out and grow, real big. So that's what we decided to do.
How big did you get to, Monte, when you were...
Our own employees, we probably only had, I think maybe 30 at the peak, but most days we probably had anywhere from 15, 20, sometimes more other contractors working with our guys on the jobs that we were taking on. So.
I'm curious. I want to go back, and now you're leading the way. But when you started in the oil field, who was the guy that you were following, kind of learning from?
Well, when I first started working, I worked with one of the other past Oilman of the year, Vic Jazowski, was one of my first crew foremen that I worked with, and actually the first guy that I curled with in the Oilmans in 1977.
You hear that name as much as you do as Armstrong in the Bonds fields, you'll hear Jazowski.
Yeah. And, I worked with a number of guys that, kind of let you take on a bit of a role as a leader to, which kind of, I'm not saying it made you step forward, but it made you want to step forward and, step into those positions to be supervisors and things like that. And I didn't mind going out and working with customers in the field, one-on-one, and so that kind of helped.
The cycles we have, Kurt, they're not fun. I used to tell everybody you're usually Monte's been around a little bit longer than I have, you're going to get usually that 5 or 6 year cycle. This last one has been the longest in my lifetime.
We're on the up now.
We're on the up now, I believe we are, but it wasn't no 1 year cycle where you usually do a 6 and 1. Monte can confirm this with me. You usually do about a 6 and 1. You get 6 really good years, and then 1 where you're just, keep everything tight, and then you're back again. This one's been since 2015. And we're starting to kind of come out of it. It's been, we have never been like going to the moon. We're in the 6 and 1, it used to go 6 and then 1 and then back again 6. This has been kind of like 7, 8, kind of like this. But most guys, it's funny because most of the guys in this industry, when those things are happening, that's when they start their companies up. Not a lot of times when times are good or they're working for somebody, no different than we did. You sit there and go, okay, if I'm not gonna know when I'm gonna be working, I might as well be the guy owning the company to know when I'm not gonna be doing anything. And I think that's where you started, and that's where I started for that same reason. And your entrepreneuring part probably kicked in as part of that too, right?
Well, like you said, timing is a big thing on it. And I know guys that, things have gone really good for 4 or 5 years, and all of a sudden they've jumped into it.
Yeah.
And maybe invested a bunch of money or borrowed a bunch of money, and all of a sudden that downturn year hits. It makes it a lot tougher to survive.
Yeah.
And like you said, having been through it this many times, seeing how quick that it does drop, that I always got to be prepared for that. And
Did you ever get to a point where you're like, why do I keep going through this?
Oh man.
Number of times.
Oh
man.
man.
Like you said, about every 5 or 6 years. So.
I'll just echo that part of it. But for you being in it as long as you have, Monte, and I've been in as long as I have, I don't know of any better RSP that I've been involved in my life than what we do here. And that doesn't mean that there's, technology and computers and farming and everything else that other people have done really well at. But it's been good to us. And you just have to know how to manage that when times are good and when times aren't so good. And if you do, it's been good to us. Would you say the same, Monte?
It has, yeah. And like I said, you just you prepare for it. It's no different in farming. You prepare for when there's going to be a drought, and you do what you can. And I think the oil industry is very much the same. We have the same thing. There's political things that can change our industry so quick, and so you've just got to kind of do your own thing and get your own gut feeling and what you should be doing, and hope you pick it the right way.
Well, that political thing, Monte, is that fairly new?
No, not really. It's been around since. When I started in back in the 70s, they'd just come out of some National Energy Board had brought on things that had created a lot of issues for the oil industry, and
who was prime minister at that time?
Some guy by the name of Trudeau back then. So.
You just trying to lead him into that because you did the history on that. Yeah. And not to say we're not facing that even greater now, but I think we're just getting tougher is what I think. So
You talk about the good times, though. Like, what are some of your memories from, like, your early days in oil and gas?
Well, I mean, a lot of events that you go to, you get to meet people at job sites, your clients, but you turn around and you participate in events like this and the golf tournaments and different things, and you get to relax a little bit more around them. You get to, do things that you don't on the everyday job site out in the field. So
part of that is, Kurt, for to echo some of that is, you grind away, you work hard at what you're doing. I've known Monte for a very, very long time. Monte's son and my daughter are the same age. They went to school together. And I think we did pretty good there. One's a lawyer and one's a registered nurse, so went pretty good. So it's just having that opportunity as a business person to give back to the community. And I mean, Monte being Oilman of the Year is absolutely spectacular, but that's a buildup of the 14 bazillion hours he's put into all kinds of committees and stuff through the years as well. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of the boards and stuff you've been on through the years, Monte?
Well, like I've been on, a number in the oil industry and some outside. Usually, sometimes you come on them just being involved in what some of your kids are doing.
Yeah.
But it's always been rewarding to see that, these boards do things that create opportunities for kids and for people just to enjoy, away from the work.
Curling would be a big part of that, would it not?
Curling was always a big part of it, yeah.
Did you start curling on the farm, or did you start when you came to
I started on the farm, yeah. There was 9 boys in the family, and so it was a lot easier to take 8 in and go curl than it was to try to chase hockey leagues around.
Well, I was just going to say, you guys went the curling route instead of the hockey route. That you guys could have had your own team, man.
Yeah, I played a couple years of hockey when I was quite young, but like I said, my older brothers all curled, and so kind of jumped into that. So
We've kind of jumped ahead. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll pick it up from 1987. That's about the time you started Granite Oilfield, right?
That's right, yeah.
1987. We'll start there when we come back. First, I want to tell you about modern living for those 55 and over. It's finally come to Lloydminster. Where was this years ago for those that are looking to get out of their homes but not into a senior facility? Not yet, anyway. A community made up of beautiful villas with high vault ceilings, gorgeous big windows. Each villa has its own residence with its own thermostat, its own appliances, and room to move around, room to have company over. You could even have a pet. Garages are available as well with some 2-bedroom villas. And if you haven't seen Wellings yet, Wellings of Lloydminster, you can take a drive by and you can see construction going on right now. And in April here, they're going to start out on building a clubhouse that's going to be perfect for this little community that they've got going on over by the new 7-Eleven and Petro Canada. So what I want you to do is call Darlene, and she's going to take you through one of those villas, and she's going to show you how deep the garages is, because when you think about getting out of your home, you're probably thinking you can take nothing with you. That's not true. At Wellings of Lloydminster, there's lots of room, even in the garage, to have a workshop and things like that and still park your car in. 780-872-8537. And you're thinking, well, if I'm getting out of my home, it could be because of health. Do I want to enter a long-term lease? Ask Darlene about that. You'll like her answer. 780-872-8537. That's Wellings of Lloydminster. We'll be right back with Monte Armstrong.
Save some green this March by visiting the new Lloydminster Nissan in the Big Blue building on Highway 16 West. Purchase a new car, truck, or SUV from the new Lloydminster Nissan this March and get lucky. Right now at the new Lloydminster Nissan, your first payment is on us, and you can win free payments for a year with your new or pre-owned purchase. May the luck of the Irish be with you all March and all year. The new Lloydminster Nissan. We won't sell you a car, we'll help you buy one.
How can you help support the oil and gas industry and jobs in Western Canada? The answer is closer than you think. Sell your scrap metals to PWM Steel. PWM sells scrap iron to Evraz, located in Regina. Evraz's #1 customer is the energy sector, building pipes and plates for the oil and gas industry. PWM Steel is your locally owned metal recycler and steel service center in the area. Plus, they're a strong supporter of the community. PWM Steel, your top steel supplier for Alberta and Saskatchewan for 40 years.
At Diamond 7 Meats, we work with local farm families to provide a high-quality product and a great selection for you. Try our mouth-watering smokies, pulled pork, roast beef, and more, made pure and natural with no additives or fillers. We offer custom processing, and our experienced team works for you to provide a selection of sausage, burgers, and jerkies made to your specifications. Take your grilling to the next level with a Yoder smoker. Complete the grilling experience with a Canadian-made, award-winning line of House of Q barbecue sauces. We're locally owned and operated, and we look forward to seeing you today.
Welcome back. We're with the Oilman of the Year, Monte Armstrong. He'll be honored at a banquet at the Oilman's Bonspiel on Friday night. And I just kind of mentioned to Monte when we were on break here, he's been here since 1976. And one of my questions was, did you ever think about leaving?
Well, not really moving out of here, other than at one time, my job, I looked at moving to Macklin. We had crews living down there, and I was traveling down there every day, and we did, look at moving me there or to Provost, but that was right before the next downturn in the oil industry, so I'm kind of happy it didn't happen.
Because then he would have gone from curling to bunnocking.
There we go.
And if you're throwing rocks, you still probably be good at bunnock championship.
There we go. Well, might be.
You moved a long way. Like Oxbow, you came a long way to get to Lloydminster. It's not like Oxbow is like a short drive. That's a long ways away.
Oh no, that's a ways.
Yeah, it's it's 500 kilometers, but it's like I said, I had a couple of brothers living up here at the time and working in the oil industry, so I thought it was a good place to go to.
Just move in with them when you came?
Actually, I did, yeah.
Yeah. So. How long before you met your wife?
It wasn't long, about 6 months, I think it was. So.
Yeah. That's not very long.
No,
yeah.
no.
How old were you? If you don't mind me asking.
I was 18.
Oh, so you came up as soon as you could, basically.
Yeah. I finished that year taking the crop off and did some other things around the farm helping Dad, and decided that it was time to get out and see what I could do. So.
Am I thinking Teledetsky, is that right?
My wife, yes.
Yeah, Teledetsky. There you go. Because you don't hear that name very often. How many years for you now, married?
It'll be 43 this summer.
43. Yeah. We're working on 40, so 1983, 41 for us. Just a couple of years ahead of us.
And 4 children.
4 children, yeah.
Who are all involved in the community, all kind of followed you.
Yes, our 3 boys all live in town here.
Yes,
Ryan and his wife are both lawyers in town. Derek and his wife are both teachers. And Tyson's an accountant, and his partner, she's a lawyer also.
How did that happen, Monty? All these people, from guys like you and I that are doing maintenance and stuff on the wells, and then we got all these brainy...
Well, I think mine probably comes obviously from Chris's side of the family.
The Teledetsky side.
But
they're all smart.
Our boys all did work for us out on crews, and they ran shovels and wrenches and stuff in the summertime. After school and during university for a couple of years. So I think they all had goals set that they wanted to do, and which is good. They all have got life experiences that. It's not handed to them.
That doesn't mean that lawyers and accountants and teachers can't get blisters on their hands to start. I think that's a big part. You guys raise your kids very good. They were always up, like when we go to color nights and stuff, for the awards, they were always up there getting stuff too. They were smart in school.
Yeah, they all did well in school. They worked hard at it. And our daughter's in Saskatoon. She's a physiotherapist at the Children's Hospital there, and teaches dance 3 or 4 nights a week, so she's busy.
Well, it's not like you don't see these, but what I mean, Monty, is not like you don't see them out in the community.
Yeah.
Like if you need a lawyer, sure. If you need an accountant, sure. But you also are going to see them whether you need them or not, because they're there in the community. I've talked to Derek on this show several times about Ukrainian dance.
Yeah.
I've talked to Ryan because he's not just a lawyer, he takes the next step in becoming, the representative from this area for the lawyers. I don't know exactly remember what the association is called. Mm-hmm. Derek's now the president of the Lloydminster Teachers Association. You led the way in that. Like, they obviously saw something.
And I'm hoping that they are supporting you with their finances now to make sure that your Palm Spring accommodations are well, Monty. I'm just kidding you.
Yeah, they've all they're all sitting on, you know, various boards and committees, and you know, they don't talk a lot about it other than, you know, I'll contact them about something and they'll reply I'm in a board meeting, or so they are all doing their own thing, which we're really
you led
proud
the way
of.
in that, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, Chris was really involved in a lot of things, probably as many or more than I was. And like I said, I did a lot of these things on committees and boards, but a lot of it wasn't without Chris's help.
Yeah.
I was a one-finger typewriter operator, and so it was painful for her to watch. So she usually would sit down, and even when the computer come out, she knew that I was not very good with that. So she simply sat down and helped me with so many of those things that when I didn't need it. So.
I think as we raise our kids, I always used to say this, that it's especially your story. You don't want to hand the baton over to your kids. You want to hand it up to them. And I think you're a perfect example of that, of what they're already doing in their lives. And I think that's
Both you
that's-
and Chris, yeah.
Yeah.
really good.
87, Granite Oil Field. Let's move in from there. We were talking about, you didn't have a lot of your own employees, but what was the oil field like back in 87 when you started Granite Oil?
Well, you know, it was getting in probably the first year of, you could say, that 5-6 year cycle
Yeah,
where
86
things were
was
starting.
tough, and 87 came back again.
86 was, you know, quite tough. 87 it started to grow, and as you know, we started the new company. We got you know, started building more jobs with different companies, and we were able to bring back quite a few employees that had got laid off with the previous company, and so we kind of built it from there, and kind of had you know, ideas on where we wanted to take it, but for us it was the same thing. We were the owners, but we were back on the crews working, and because until you get established, that's something you had to do.
Monte, who were some of the companies that you would have been? Did you do a lot of work for Husky back then?
During those times, we did some, but we did a lot with Murphy Oil, with,
yeah.
Anderson Exploration. At that time, it was Dome, but then CNRL.
Well, you don't hear that name much anymore, Dome. Wow, that far back.
How many times have we done this show? That's the first time I've heard it.
Oh, is that
Really?
right? Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think so.
so that
They were
giant,
big in the area.
That giant office that was just around the corner from my office and Monty's offices, the biggest building in Industrial Park, that was built by Dome Petroleum.
Yeah.
I think I know the building you're
That,
talking about.
Nexen was in there, Wascan and Nexen, all of those companies actually ended up in that building later on, but that was built by Dome.
And we did work for a lot of small companies.
Junior companies, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it wasn't 5 or 10. There was probably 30 or 40 companies that we did work for, and we got into a little bit of the contract operating. We had companies that, you know, didn't want to step in and hire employees, but they would find somebody they wanted to use.
So you had some guys operating wells?
Operating wells.
I did
yeah.
not know that.
Yeah.
I thought you
and
were strictly
plants too. We
making-
had some
Oh,
guys
okay.
down in Medicine Hat.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and you know, but like I said, a lot of times it was the oil companies. You know, they don't want to step in and hire an employee right away until they see if they want to work, they'll work out.
Right.
So they'd say, okay, come to us and say, can we put you know, run them through you for 6 months till we see how they make out, and if they're what they're looking for, then they would hire them. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Who are your partners at Granite?
Blair Denny was Blair and I originally started, and then we brought on some other employees as shareholders over the years.
So the next downturn is 1991?
91 was a little quieter again, yeah. But, you know, it didn't last as long, I didn't think.
No, it didn't.
You know, it was kind of a 4 or 5 month
Flicker.
lull where a lot of companies that had plans for the year, and a lot of times, you know, you look at what an oil company plans for the year and you can kind of base somewhat on what expectations are, but you know how quick those things can change. So that year, everything kind of just got pushed back 6 or 8 months, and so you're scrambling a bit trying to find things to keep people busy, but no, it did come back fairly quick.
So, like, I can go back and look at the most recent dips, and, you know, most of them I think are inflicted by government policies. What was it in 91?
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember.
So am I, because that's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's over 30 years ago.
I'm
and I
trying to
know-
remember lunch
Because
yesterday.
interest rates would have started to come
You're
down.
asking him
right?
to ask what he had for lunch
Yeah.
yesterday, and then you're asking him about 1991, Kurt. I'm teasing you, but I'm just trying to remember as
But
well.
interest
what we-
rates would have been they would have been coming down.
They had come down quite a bit before that.
Yeah.
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 You
But
know,
yet you hear stories of guys from that time throwing keys on.
Well, let me give you a bit of a cycle, I think, that Monte can confirm as well, is that what we do is we get really good at what we were doing here in the Canadian oil patch, and we would start to get progressing somewhat, and then unfortunately OPEC, all they had to do was decide if they just wanted to go down with their pricing, and then it would start to saturate the market, and the need for our stuff would get pushed back. I hope I say that the right way, Monte, but I think you and I
100%,
followed it,
yeah.
followed
You know-
it enough that that was just a fluctuation for us to try to sit there and grind that out with them.
and oil companies, you know, they base their budgets on what oil's looking for the next year, and all of a sudden rolls back $10 a barrel and doesn't look like it's going up, then a lot of things that they planned on doing get canceled pretty quick. And so, you know, that's where ourselves as a company, you know, they'd, you know, say, hey, are you going to be able to supply an extra half a dozen trucks for something? And we didn't want to jump into it too quick, because we saw quick that all of a sudden you go buy all this equipment, and new equipment costs you a lot more money sitting in the yard than old equipment paid for. So
We did a lot of gambler song, the Kenny Rogers song, The Gambler. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. Truthfully, was a lot of our company's style, and even this biggest downturn we've had here, it's if you're going to survive, and Monte will confirm this as well, it's about your management and making sure that you're not getting too extended out on anything. And Monte said that. And in our time, the amount of people that had to return their stuff because they caught it at the tail end of what was not to be expected. So, you know, if you're on the start where Monte got a few good years in with Granite before something happens, you got hopefully some rainy day management money in that, and you can stay solid. But guys that are, you know, go out and buy 12 trucks at just at the start of the downturn or just before it's happening, that's tough, because you've got to have some good years in so that you can stay afloat. Does that make sense, Monte?
it does, yeah. And like I said, the banks want their money every month, and they don't look at whether or not you've got it coming in or not. They're just looking at where they're getting their money from, and
Yeah.
and it changes so quick that debt will be the first thing that'll knock your company down, because you know, that's something that has to go first. So
What was the stress like? How did you manage it?
there was days
did
that
you
it
do
was it was a little tougher. You worried about it, but you know, after you've been through it long enough, that you kind of said, you know, it's going to come back. It's just a matter of how soon. And you know, it was always stressful when you didn't have work for your employees, and you try to keep them around. I know we built a new shop in 1997, just before we moved in, about a month before things slowed down.
One down from us?
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought.
And we moved in about a month before things slowed down. And so we actually had the basketball net set up in there, and we had the driving mats from the golf course down there. And we kept guys around doing something as much as we could. You could only wash vehicles so much, but
Well,
you know, you had to have them there.
When you see them on the time card, wash basketballs, washing golf balls, fix net, no, on your time card, I'm just teasing you.
No, you know, you just you hope things didn't last too long, and that was a slow year. But from, you know, end of '97 for the next 10 years was, for us, by far the busiest stretch.
Yeah, and I would agree the same for us. The thing that you have to decide as a business owner back in those days is the people that have been the core people for you, and that you feel you can come again another day with another wave with the surfboard. You might have to take some of your savings to hang on to them so you can do really well again. And you know, maybe people don't see that side of us on the show, but there's lots of times you're going, you know what, I'm just going to keep these guys on because they're greater with me, that I have to save to keep them with me, than they are getting them go somewhere else and I may never get them back.
Yeah.
And that was the toughest parts for us.
And people know who your best employees are. So I mean, they're going to be after them right away if you know, if you're not looking after them. And so that was always very important. So
How long were you, so when you started Granite in 87, stay with that company till 2010?
yes, yeah. And then 2010, we kind of had plans where the employees, what we brought on as shareholders, they ended up buying us out with a couple other guys, and so yeah, we stepped
Who
back
owns
from it.
Granite now then, Monty?
Well, Blair's brother Dale
Okay.
is involved in it.
Okay.
And so yeah, there's I think might be a couple other guys.
Okay.
But,
Yeah. No, not, it doesn't, just knowing that he's kind of leading the way there now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Granite, so you had that downturn in 97, and then it was smooth sailing after that.
pretty steady. Yeah.
Because 2000s were really good.
Yeah, that's been,
2000s were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the biggest change you saw working in the oil field for 34 years?
Well, safety was probably the biggest thing.
that changed, you'd say, Monty, where we
that,
had to.
that
we had-
changed in the industry. I mean, of course. I mean, everything is computerized, so much
Digitized
more,
and
yeah,
internetinized
and
and-
it wasn't something that I was certainly up on. But safety, I know when I first started in the industry, it wasn't very much there. You know, you.
Did you have any Salvation Army clothes stories, Monty? Because I did.
No, but I can remember I wasn't on a job site too long. Shortly after I moved up, we were actually working in at the refinery, and I had a co-op implements coat that I'd got
Yep.
when I was on the farm, and nylon.
Yep,
And I walked into the refinery, gonna go to work, and that was the first thing they said. You can't have anything like that could possibly burn. So. That was,
But back when I worked on the rigs, you would have been doing the stuff back then for Murphy Oil, and I was working for Murphy Oil, and it's just the where it's gone to now in the safety side. I used to go to the Salvation Army thrift store because your clothes are going to just get all oily anyway, and we would buy snowmobile suits or skidoo suits for the rest of us Canadians, what we'd call them, and you just go buy coats and jackets and stuff there. Steel toes was something that wasn't really invented back then, and that's what you did. And then your clothes got oily, you washed them in Varsol, and you got all the oil off them, and then you took them to the laundromats that allowed you to wash the odd, just saying this nicely, the odd combustible stuff would happen at some of the laundromats, and then you'd take them back out to the rig, and away you go. The coveralls and safety and glasses and impact gloves and all that. We wore Green Kings and hard hats and high top runners back then, back on the rigs back in the late 70s.
Yeah, there was no fire retardant clothing. Safety glasses were worn some, but
Maybe if you're
because-
grinding or something, yeah.
There wasn't a lot of safety equipment or clothing that was worn back then.
So then you had to go to the COR program, and so what the COO program is you had to now implement a program into your company that was accepted pretty well worldwide, or at least Canadian-wide with all the companies. And if you didn't have your COR, which is a safety program that went through a lot of things internally, you could not work on their locations and get any of their work.
Yeah, and that was a good thing, you know. That
I agree.
The pressure was put on the oil companies to make sure that their contractors had that in place, and a lot of that didn't come in until the 2000s, really.
Yeah. Well, you got Monte's maintenance on the location. You got my tool company on the location. You got the rig company on the location because it's a new well. You could literally have 4 or 5 different companies on there, and if they're not all versed in what is going on in the program, the last thing you want is my guys endangering Monty's stuff because we have no safety training, or Monty's guys endangering us because they don't. And so the companies just said, they kind of made the vendors take responsibility because it was coming down on them, and they said, okay, if we got to do it, then all the vendors have got to get safe.
Yeah.
You mentioned that things got digitalized and they went to computers and stuff like that. How does like even I remember when I went to Nate and it was like, turn the computer on. There's no button on the back of this computer.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on the front. Oh, you know what I mean? Like how do you adjust to that? How does Granite adjust to that?
You know, I mean, the girls in the office did most of it, which was Blair's wife Linda and my wife Chris. I was never good at computers, and I'm still working at it. I mean, there's no whiteout on the screen anymore, but I'm slowly getting there. But
you know how to FaceTime your grandchildren, I'll bet you.
I can do a lot of those things now, but
Yeah.
as far as setting up things and doing stuff on the computer, I still rely on Chris to organize that for me. So.
Or the kids.
Or the
I guess it
kids,
just
or the
gradually,
grandkids.
it just gradually kind of happens. Right?
It
You
does,
adjust, or
yeah,
you have to adjust.
You have to adjust.
So how many years? And Tracy brought this up earlier with being the Oilman of the Year. But how many years with the Bonspiel, being on the board and that kind of stuff?
Well, actually, I started right in '77. Ron was on the board, and he said to me, "Why don't you come out?" And he said,
Ron
Denny, and he said, "Come on out to our meeting." And he said, we can always use more help. And so I think that first year I ended out on the prize committee, and that time it was chasing after prizes and hauling them to the rink and those things, and it just kind of developed from there. And so yeah, I spent about 42 years on there, maybe a little bit more, but it was.
Well, Darren Weimer put all of the guys on there last night on Facebook, and I don't know, Monte, I'm going to do a 2-second skill testing question for you. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. See how many guys you could name that you know that were Oilman of the Year.
Vic
You
Jazowski.
picked some of them, right?
Yeah, I was
Okay,
involved in
that doesn't count. Come on.
Yeah, no, it was always a committee.
Give me
that
10. See if you can do 10.
Ted Collins, Howie Caford, Vic Jazowski, Frank Jazowski, Abe Unraw, Ernie Unick, John Stanier, Dwayne Davidson, Fred North, Gary Cunningham.
Keep going if you got him. Tom Fisher.
Oh yeah, there was a lot.
Hamish Garland.
Yeah,
I'm just teasing.
Yeah,
wow.
You
were probably in charge of some of those guys for sure.
Well, I was always involved.
Collins were in there.
They used to bring. Not long after I started working with the committee, we had a list of people that have been involved in the oil industry for a long time, and maybe participated in the Bonspiel or did stuff in the community, and so that list always had names getting added to it, and so we used to rely on guys like Ted Collins and Howie Caford. We would talk to them about different guys on the list, and they would usually give us pointers on what different people had done, and so no, it was always good to have some names there, because a lot of them were from before my time in the industry. So
what's your involvement now, Monte?
I'm not involved in the committee at all.
Okay,
No.
Are you still throwing rocks at all? Are you still granite? Or?
I'm going to still throw some rocks, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Thursday night at
You're not
6.
doing any sweeping anymore, though, are you,
No, I kind of quit that. I was never good at it, so I did a lot of that with the old corn brooms
Holy
and stuff.
smokes, I remember being like the lead guy. If you're the lead guy, I'm saying this nicely, you're not the best shooter. Okay,
No.
and the times I curled, but holy smokes, I don't know how some of these guys have done it with, let's just say, some extra fluid in them, that they don't fall, which we've seen a few guys fall. I seen a guy, I won't name who it was, he was throwing out of the hack and he just tipped right over.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm in good shape. And after curling for 2 days, man, you are tight and you are sore in spots because you are sweeping in places that you didn't normally do.
Well, I gotta ask you, because Saskatchewan finally made the Brier final here. Haven't won it since 1980. They're showing all this old footage, and these guys out there with the corn brooms. How effective could those brooms have possibly been, Monte?
Well, at the time, the idea was to warm up the ice that would keep the rock moving. And, I mean, we used corn brooms and we used rink rat brooms. And, like I said, your arms ached for a week after. But, I mean, growing up, that's what we used all the time.
So did you
curled with
think
my
that
brothers.
those brooms, you seen guys that just, especially guys that, there was actually guys that were sweeping, that would sweep with the push broom, but when they come out of the hack, they still wanted to use that.
Still today, yeah.
Still use that, well, it's all covered now with,
Yeah.
what is it, some kind of coating or something.
Some kind of
or whatever.
tape.
And then they because they still wanted that feel coming out of the hack, so they used 2 different types of brooms. Did you ever do that?
Well, I slide with a different broom than what I sweep with. But it's,
Okay, there you go.
It's an older type of broom that I've used for many years, and it just gives me the best feel when I'm sliding. And we've been curling with some senior groups around the world here. It's called Welcome the World, and this last year we were in Preston, England for it.
Oh, nice.
And the last time before COVID, we were in New Zealand, and the year before that in Denmark. And so you don't always take all those things with you, so it's always a different feel when you're using different equipment. But I usually fall back on the same stuff I used years ago.
Well, and you know, you always, you know, Palm Springs, I've golfed with you before. You always want to take your own golf clubs if you can go golfing somewhere. But I have a question for you. Greatest shot ever by Monte Armstrong curling? Have you got any ones that you can think of that were just like super great shot you did and go, man, I even surprised myself? Because you skipped quite a bit, did you not?
I have skipped
so you
for a lot
got
of
to
years,
you got to throw some rocks that really matter.
Yeah, I mean, there's times that, you know, we've won an event where, I mean, the rest of the guys in the team are really pumped because maybe it hasn't happened to them before. So, I mean, it's really rewarding for them. And, I mean, to me, I've been in that position before. If you make it, you do. If you don't,
you just seem like the calmest guy, one of the calmest guys I've known. Even when we've golfed in that, I've never seen you get, like, I'm saying that nice, you're just one of those guys who's just like, okay. Do you feel nervous when you're going to make a shot?
Oh, sometimes, but you know, I've always looked at, you know, we're fortunate to be able to do these things, and if they work out good, fine. If they don't, it wasn't meant to be.
Here's still my it's a two-part question now. One of your greatest shots to win, and one of the shots you missed and lost.
Yeah, well, I remember the ones I missed probably more. One year we were in the final and we were tied up coming home against a team, and we had one buried on the front of the button, and we had a guard on it, and all I had to do was throw up another guard anywhere, and I lined it up perfectly, so all the other guy had to do was hit it, and ours was gone. And probably if I don't throw that rock, he may not have made it. But it's just where I put it, and you know. But I mean, those are things that happen.
Okay, now you made a shot that, like, did you have to throw weight to the button or something to win, or a double takeout or something?
Yeah, we've had I know one year actually. He was playing my brother Mickey in the final,
which was another super curler.
Yeah, and I had to make a double in the extra end to beat him, and which, I mean, I guess you're happy to make it. I mean, if it worked, it didn't. I mean,
especially beating your brother, though, Monte. That must have been really good.
Well, he curled with me for a number of years.
I know he did,
because
I know.
Well, my question is, because Tracy brought this up, you're calm and cool on the ice and on the golf course. Were you like that in the oil field?
I tried to be most of the time. I mean, there were certainly days you could get frustrated. You know, you went through patches and times in the oil industry when it was tough to get guys to show up to work every day, and you know, I mean, our guys were always leaving at 7 to go to work, and you get some guy calling at 7:30 saying, "Oh, I slept in," and I guess there was probably times I wasn't always that calm and cool, but I guess that's probably that way.
Seems warranted.
Sometimes, yeah.
When you got people around,
was that the biggest headache?
Yeah,
and it was tough to find employees a lot of the times. You know, you always were looking for good employees, and then in the next time, 6 months later, you're trying to find work for these good employees. So,
right.
Well,
so it went up and down. So.
Yeah, and through the years, you know, we've been fortunate, Monte and I both, of having really good people around. I always tell them, they're either probably good or they're not. And the other part is, with equipment, we always say the equipment doesn't talk back. They're not late. You fix that stuff and then you go on. So, you know, but when you get employees, it's just part of what you got to do.
Yeah.
Who told you, and what was it like finding out that you were the Oilman of the Year?
Well, actually, it was Darren Weimer had called me on my phone. They were actually having a committee meeting, and I guess they, you know, I know what we used to do is we would have a couple names in mind, and if for some reason the first one couldn't make it, then they would approach the second one. But he called me, and I just said, well, if you can, you know, just give me a few days just to talk with the kids, because I wanted to make sure they were going to be able to be around. I was really excited about it, very honored by it, and so it's going to be a fun.
It's a lifetime award, Monte.
It is.
You know, it's you don't get that award because they don't think you're recognized or well deserved of it, and you are. We appreciate.
I appreciate it very much.
So much. Appreciate
Right.
it.
And obviously it means a lot that your family's going to be there.
It does, yeah. They're, they're a big part of everything you do. I mean, there was times when I was working and doing these things that maybe I should have been spending more
Yep.
time with the family, but working is what puts the bread on the table, so that's kind of leads to where they end out also.
So Chris helping you with your acceptance speech?
She'll probably
Somebody's gotta type it out?
She'll be typing it out
Yeah.
on the computer, or at least setting it up so I can maybe figure it out. But,
You know, they got technology now. You can just read it in. It'll type it up.
Yeah.
for
well,
everybody.
I got to figure that out first. Though,
No, just so you know, let's make that clear over the air. Monte's AI, artificial intelligence, is actually real intelligence, and it's Chris.
Yeah,
She'll be right on it.
that's exactly. So,
Wow.
Well, thank you, sir.
all right, thank you very much.
Appreciate
Brad.
you
Really
being
appreciate
here,
you
man.
being
All the
here.
best to you, and may all your shots matter at this Von Spiel, and may you win with a great shot.
All right, thanks.
Monte Armstrong, he is the Oilman of the Year, honored at a banquet on Friday night. And we really appreciate his time. And we're going to be back with you tomorrow on Live with Kurt Price. We're going to be broadcasting live from the Gold Horse Casino. We mentioned finding employees on the show more than once today, and that is what is happening tomorrow at the Gold Horse Casino. The Chamber of Commerce and some other organizations will be having a job fair, and we'll be broadcasting live tomorrow morning starting at 11 o'clock from that job fair, and we hope you'll join us then.